What's going on, guys? And we'll go back to another video. Alright, so I just want to first off start by saying that all glory goes to God. But without further ado, I want to make a video on glove sizes, specifically in Muay Thai. However, I also want to briefly touch into bare knuckle and regular boxing, just because there are some very interesting studies that show, some very interesting facts. Now, so just for real quick reference, I do have some 4-ounce gloves here. I don't really train with them, but I know I do have them. It's very rarely I'll hit the heavy bag. Sometimes I'll hit my ball with them, you know what I'm saying? But these are very similar to these One FC gloves that I will show you right here. So, One Championship has very famously kind of changed the game, quote unquote, with Muay Thai by introducing these 4-ounce gloves compared to these 16-ounce sparring gloves that I use all the time. And so as you can see, there is a massive size difference, you know what I'm saying, compared to the two gloves. Very big. So I wanted to make this video because we had this discussion yesterday in my Muay Thai gym about glove size and their opinions on whether they are kind of for or against One Championship's decision to have, the smaller glove sizes for Muay Thai. Because there's a lot of the, Muay Thai purists that are staunchly against, the 4-ounce gloves, and they say it takes away and detracts from the traditional Muay Thai style. But I mean, something that people don't remember, or it's easy to forget, because a lot of people don't know the history of Muay Thai, is that these bigger, gloves, I'm pretty sure most competitions use like 10-ounce gloves, but basically the same glove style, is that bigger glove style didn't really get introduced until the 1920s in Thailand. So up until then, they had what was called the karchuak, which is basically roached hands, essentially. And I have a perfect picture of the King Senchai himself rocking, the karchuaks for Thai Fight League, because I'm pretty sure that Thai Fight League is one of the only promotions that still have and still use the ropes gloves. I'm sure there's probably smaller promotions in Thailand that I don't know about. But I just know, and occasionally we'll watch, a Thai Fight League fight with the karchuaks because they're gnarly, you know what I'm saying? And I know, there's a good majority of my, peers in the gym that actually really enjoyed One FC's choice with the smaller gloves, with the 4-ounce gloves, because they thought it was more of like a homage, to the traditional style of the karchuaks, which is that kind of smaller glove style. And I'm not gonna lie, personally, I'm in agreement. I actually really like the 4-ounce gloves for one, and them doing it. I thought they was a super cool idea. I really like the idea, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that, the One FC's fights with the 4-ounce gloves are some of the best striking fights that there are to watch currently. I actually prefer them more than the UFC fights, honestly. I used to watch a lot of UFC and a lot of MMA fights, but I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of fallen off UFC a little bit, and I literally pretty much watch One Championship, RWS, and I will dabble in some Thai Fight League, like I said. And also, I'm not gonna lie, this is not to the benefit or detriment of the fighter, but I think promoting these MMA style 4-ounce gloves really helps out, the sport of Muay Thai grow worldwide, especially with Westerners. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that more MMA style, and I think that's really cool. Because there's plenty of people. I still talk to people every day that I've never even heard of Muay Thai, don't know what it is, think it's a food, think it's like a weird tea or something, which is kind of funny to think about. But I think something like this at One Championship too, because I'm a really big One Championship fan. I love their fights. I like their promotions. I know there's a lot of debate with One FC right now about various things, but I'm a fan of the promotion. I like what they do, and I think their 4-ounce glove fights for Muay Thai are tops. Now, that also kind of comes into, glove sizes as far as what's more dangerous. Most people, especially, that don't really watch combat sports, they would obviously say that the 4-ounce gloves are more dangerous than the thicker padded gloves. And honestly, I would argue differently in regards to the long-term effects of combat sports, which obviously, is brain damage and TETE, which is the most, I guess you could say, feared side effect, from a career of combat sports, which is valid because, you don't want basically to have a dying brain as you get older once you retire fighting. Most, professional fighters, I can imagine, want to still have fun with their kids, how to live normal lives and stuff like that. And so we also, something we discussed in my gym yesterday was, the long-term effects, like I just said, of, we're talking about bare knuckle boxing compared to regular boxing, right? And how in bare knuckle boxing, the only thing that gets wrapped is their wrists. And they did a study where, bare knuckle fights, yeah, there was more physical damage and a lot more, sustained hits. They're getting cut up, they're breaking fingers, breaking hands, whatever, losing teeth, whatever, right? And there's a lot more physical damage on the fighter. However, we're talking about how the studies showed that most bare knuckle boxers actually had way less brain trauma and brain damage compared to regular boxers. And if you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense because when you have these smaller gloves or bare knuckle, right, there is a higher probability of a knockout or a higher probability of a fight getting stopped because of physical damage to the fighter. And with boxing gloves, you're allowed to throw punches full power, technically, for as long as the fighter can sustain that, right? If the fighter has a really great cardio and they're just constantly throwing haymakers full 100% power, because they don't have to worry about getting their, breaking their hands or whatever, they can and will do that in boxing. And, compared to like a One FC fight or a bare knuckle fight, right? Where they have these smaller gloves or just no gloves at all in bare knuckle, the fighters are taking more, more damage physically, not only to their hands, but stuff like that. So therefore, the fights end quicker. There's less prolonged damage in the fight. And, most fighters are more conscious or, of throwing punches or throwing whatever at full power because they don't want to get hurt or, have the damage to the hands. So, in all reality, me personally, I would rather have more damage physically, that could get rectified over a prolonged, tenure of just these concussive or subconcussive blasts to the head, that can develop CTE over time. And we're having a discussion now, about what people prefer. And I am totally on the side of, the smaller gloves, even though there is more chance of physical damage. For me, and I'm sure, lots of other fighters, especially professional fighters, there's always that fear of, the fear of CTE. Because as of this video in 2025, there's no cure, there's no way to reverse the effects. Once you have CTE, you have it. And oftentimes, unfortunately, with a lot of these fighters, they can only get diagnosed with CTE after they pass away. And there's a whole study on, the effects of CTE and what it does to a fighter's health and a fighter's brain. And there's a really famous picture of, a regular healthy brain and then a brain right next to it with the advanced CTE. And it's very sad. So, it's something to think about, especially right now, nowadays, and it's easy for someone who's not really, following combat sports to be in favor of these thicker padded gloves because there's more padding and there's more, room for defense, stuff like that. But again, there's not that discussion of the prolonged fight, of more fights getting sustained to the head. And also, another not discussed topic is of what it does, footwork wise and punch wise in the fight, right? Because the dynamic of, fighting with a smaller glove compared to a padded glove is so much different. Like if you watch a traditional, RWS Muay Thai, which is very traditional Thai style, they have those boxing style gloves, right? And you do that compared to a One FC fight, where it's more of like a slugfest, there's more of a higher chance of a knockout. You know what I'm saying? The fight style totally differs and totally changes. And it's very interesting to see. I want to do a more in-depth breakdown video of how, the fighter's stances change a little bit and how the footwork changes compared to, a regular 8 to 10 inch, combat competitive glove versus a Muay Thai or those kind of MMA style 4-ounce gloves. But that's for a later video. In the meanwhile, I am very curious to know your opinion on it. Are you for a 4-ounce gloves or against it? What are your opinions on it? Please let me know in the comments. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video. See you later.